The 2016 PETRONAS Malaysian Grand Prix kept the team busy from start to finish. Chief Race Engineer Andrew Shovlin is with me here in Kuala Lumpur to talk it through. Hi, Shov.
Hi, how you doing?
So it was a busy race. Let's talk about Nico's strategy. What had you planned for him going into the race and how did it change after that first corner incident?
Well, all our work was really focused on starting on the soft tyre, which we qualified in Q2, and then going on to either two hard stints, or if the soft had gone really well and we were able to take it up to that sort of 18-19 region, then quite possibly doing another soft, either as the middle stint or that final stint. So obviously we had his crash on lap 1 with Vettel. He was knocked to the back, and that changed the situation completely. Now we're doing a lot of checking. You heard Nico on the radio asking if the car was okay. We're looking at aerodynamic data, we're looking at the tyre pressures just to check there's no risk of a puncture. We're looking at all the mechanical loads, and everything looked fine. So all we could do then was stay out, and he had to change his focus from going into the race, he was hoping to win it, and now it was just about recover as much as you can. So it was just keep pushing on that soft tyre, try and get through the field. We then had that virtual safety car on lap 9, and that created an opportunity for Nico to come in, take the hard tyre, and we could put ourselves on a slightly different strategy. He's still got to pass cars, and that's why we took the hard tyre there. It's not the fastest, but you're going to be in a lot of traffic, and it was just see how many you can get through and see how far up the road we can go.
Another car that came in during that virtual safety car window was Max Verstappen, but he did something different, didn't he?
Yeah, he was the only car who stopped at that point and took the soft tyre. Now, what we think they're doing there is really to try and use the fact that they had two cars at the front of the race and we only had one, to split the strategies and give us a bit more to think about. Gets a lot harder when you're trying to cover different strategies with your one car. So he took that soft tyre, and we couldn't really understand quite what their plan was there. It would be very difficult to go just one more soft and a hard tyre to the end of the race. There'd be very long stints. So we weren't completely clear what their end game was. Was it a 2-stop? Was it a 3-stop? We just had to really stay, focused on plan, running what we thought was the quickest race, and just giving Lewis target times to try and make sure he could cover really any eventuality.
When he finally came in on lap 20, Lewis took on the hards. What would have happened if we hadn't had that engine failure towards the later part of the race? What was your plan for Lewis?
Well, when we went onto the hard tyre, we had to really see how competitive we were. We had a bit of an edge on Ricciardo on the soft. You could see Lewis just chipping away, pulling out 0.3 or so every lap, and we were building that gap up. But Ricciardo was still a bit of a threat. When we got onto the hard tyre, we were actually seeing an even bigger performance advantage, and that was when the race started to really come under Lewis's control. So he was able to build that gap. We were obviously still watching Verstappen further back. You could see Verstappen was starting to catch up with Ricciardo. Their two cars were interacting, but Lewis was putting in some great times, and he was able to build enough gap that we were almost about to stop him and be able to drop in front of both Red Bulls. And that's always the ideal, is if you can do your passing in the pits rather on track. And we've seen how difficult Verstappen can be to pass. So once we saw we had the pace, the race became all about build that pit stop gap and then just get in and run to the end on the hard tyre.
For Nico, towards the latter part of the race, it became about putting as much time between him and Raikkonen as possible. But actually the battle between them came much earlier on in the race, didn't it?
It was around about lap 18. We could actually start to see that we can get Kimi. And we were getting more and more focused on him as strategy. The problem was that Kimi was much further up the road, so he had a lot of free air. And as Nico was closing him in, we always knew that they were going to stop and cover us. They wouldn't let us get ahead of him or get close enough so that when they stopped, they dropped behind. So we were just pushing as hard as we could. That bit was all quite predictable. Kimi drops out in front of Nico on fresh hard tyres, and Nico's are around 10 laps older. And you could see that Nico was able to stay with him, but he couldn't really attack him. He tried a few things early on, but the tyres were going off. He was sliding around a lot, and they were overheating and wearing out. And he wasn't really able to make any inroads. And then later in the stint, we thought, right, we've got an opportunity to try and undercut. But by that point, Nico just didn't have the pace to get close enough. We were around 3 seconds behind. We'd have needed to get within 2 seconds or less to really pose a threat with that undercut, and we weren't able to do it. So we brought Nico in for another set of hard tyres. At that point, we were going to go to the finish. Kimi's going to cover us and do the same. But then they're on the same age tyres, and Nico was actually able to have a go at him, getting by into turn 2. Obviously, the stewards didn't quite see it our way.
Side at that point.
And he picked up that penalty. So then it was like, right, now we need to get 10 seconds up the road, make sure we're okay when we get to the end of the race. So it was all running about to plan. We obviously had the complication of another virtual safety car in there, and Kimi was able to take that for free. He could come in and get a soft tyre. Once Kimi was out of the way, we then brought Nico in for a soft tyre, just really covering what Kimi did, because we didn't want Nico on an old hard tyre and Kimi on a fresh soft if there was a safety car.
Thank you so much, Shov. We'll see you in Suzuka.
Thank you very much.